All right, political parties, we all know, racing against time. It's a bit of a sprint now, actually, to try and get your vote ahead of the local government elections. Part of our daily slot, we're going to look at campaigns, promises and forecasts for the polls. Today, we focus on good governance at municipalities. For that, what a pleasure, joined by Stuart Mbanyele from Good Governance Africa. Stuart, good to have you with us on eNCA. I'm sure you and I are going to speak many, many times. I think before we even start looking at how good governance looks in a municipality, someone just tweeted me when I said on Twitter I was going to talk to you about good governance. They're like, remind me, Stuart, what is good governance? What does it look like? I think we've all forgotten.
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to your viewers. Absolutely. I think now more than ever, good governance matters. But then governance essentially refers to the effective and efficient allocation of resources. So who gets what? The crux of the issue, in South Africa, you've got local government where municipalities are the whole face of this effecting of good governance. So municipalities are at the direct interface, so they provide services closest to the population. So from refuse removal to water to making sure that the roads are well functioning. So municipalities ultimately are the custodian of good governance. And so now these elections have sort of necessitated that we have a conversation about what we want good governance to look like at the most local level.
So you mentioned two words that I'd like you to unpack a little bit for me. One is resources and two is allocation. Which one do you think, Stuart, is the problem? Do we not have enough resources, or do we have enough resources, just municipalities have no clue how to allocate them? It's two different problems, isn't it?
Absolutely, but I think essentially the problem at a local level boils down to the effective and efficient allocation. I mean, municipalities have two streams of revenue. They get allocations financially from the national level of government, then also from the number of revenues and rates they collect from citizens in the form of fines, in the form of payments, in the form of other services that they provide at the local level. So the crux of the issue really boils down to the inefficient allocation of resources and boils down to an issue of malfeasance and corruption, which is pervasive and large scale within municipalities. I mean, earlier this year, you had the Auditor General citing in her report that only 27 municipalities out of a total of 257 achieved clean audits. And I think that speaks to how there's a misallocation or mismanagement of resources at that sphere of government. So that's the crux of the issue.
It really is. So tell me, Stuart Mbanyele from Good Governance Africa, when you're watching the political parties campaign, we have seen them promising to fix sewage, water, electricity, etc. Do you sit and giggle while watching TV, knowing that it's not as easy to fix by simply making a promise? Or what's your take when you start hearing all these promises? If you vote for us, there'll be more power. You vote for us, there won't be water issues, etc. Is it that easy, or do you have a bit of a giggle?
I think there's two issues in that regard which stand out for me at a personal level. Firstly, the conflation of national issues with the local issues. And election season where politicians tend to promise more than they can deliver. But then the other issue for me is how the trajectory that has been that has happened in local government over the past 5 years. It shows how, firstly, politicians aren't free from the burdens of the parties that they belong to. And also, you've got this interplay between different political parties at a local level, whether it's oppositions and coalition or the provincial government, the provincial ruling party in conflict with a party that runs the specific municipalities, and that results in municipalities being placed under administration. So that has shown how the dynamics at a local level have become so increasingly hard to maneuver through. And this is especially the case in the metros now. We've seen the instability that has plagued Tshwane and how that led to an effective collapse in the administrative system. We've seen the shifting in the Johannesburg metro. We've seen also the dynamics at play in Nelson Mandela Bay. And this sort of gives us a mirror into the challenges that are going to take place at the most local level, and also how politicians and councillors are going to be hamstrung by either obligations to their own parties or by either obligations to the mixture of parties that are in governance. So that's what sort of gives me a giggle at this stage.
Yeah, the coalitions, that always changes things. Like you vote for one thing and you get something else. It's like ordering a certain meal and you get to the takeaway window, they give you a different meal altogether. Stuart, thank you very much. What a pleasure speaking to you. Stuart Mbanyele from Good Governance Africa. I'm sure we're going to speak to Stuart again over the next few days as we get ready for the local government elections.